What's up, GT gang? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I'm Mojo, and today we're working on a Hemi. So we've got the 6.1, well, it's the 5.7 bored over to a 6.1 using all 6.1 components. So we're talking crankshaft, rods, pistons, and camshaft, all from a 6.1 Hemi. So it's basically a 5.7 converted to a 6.1 with a 5.7 block. Well, that being said, go back and watch my other videos. I did a full rebuild on it. It went really good, so I thought, and I ended up having a excessive oil consumption issue, and before I was able to notice it, I burned off 5 quarts of oil, and then I went uphill, hit it really hard on the gas, and with the windage tray and all my oil going to the back of the pan, I lost oil for probably 15 to 30 seconds and caused a rod knock. So it's only under load, so hopefully I caught it before I have to replace the crank. But that being said, I'm going to try something a little different, and I want to give you guys a step-by-step how to pull a Hemi from a Magnum 300 Charger and etc. So we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I did was disconnect the battery, right? You always want to disconnect your negative terminal before your positive terminal, because the electron flow is negative to positive, and standard electricity flow that you're familiar with would be positive to negative, but the electrons actually flow negative to positive. You don't want to short anything out if you pull this terminal off and set it on ground on accident. So that's why you pull it from your negative, possibly touch ground, you're still okay, and then you pull positive. And when you reinstall a battery, you do the exact opposite, positive then negative. So that's a little tidbit of information. So now we're going to go up to the front of the engine. So things that we want to take note of is we need to make sure that we're draining fluids. I'm going to drain the coolant system first and the oil second. You don't necessarily even have to drain the oil, but I like to do it as a precaution. So first things first, we're going to jack this thing up, put it up on some jack stands, start draining the coolant. And I'm trying to keep my coolant since I just did this rebuild. And yeah, there's a petcock at the bottom of the radiator. I'll show you where that's at. It's basically just a valve you open and it drains the coolant. And you also have a few plugs on the side of the block to fully drain your coolant system. So I'm underneath the car on the passenger side, and as you can see right here, there's a little valve you open. Well, I have a little hose that's hooked to where the drain goes out, but it's kinked. So what I'm going to do is remove the mounts for the radiator and lift it out a little bit so that my hose isn't kinked, so I can try to save as much of this coolant as possible. It's the Mopar purple. If it was just a normal Prestone stuff, I probably wouldn't care, but it's pretty in purple, so I gotta keep it. So there are a couple covers that go right here. I popped off. They're right here. They just pop right out, and your 2 radiator mounts are here and here. 10mm bolt. Get those out, and they'll be able to move the radiator a little bit. It's going to be easier if I remove this intake. Yours could be quite a bit different, but mine's aftermarket. So I've got 2 10mm right here, so I can pull this intake system off. And the radiator fan shroud is just 2 10mm, and it comes right out, and then we gain some clearance, and then we'll go from there. So with the radiator shroud out of the way, the fan shroud, I was going to pull just the hose, but the hose is kind of seized onto the thermostat housing, and I RTV'd it, so I know that even though this is full, it's not going to come out. So whatever's in the top of the water pump is the only thing that's going to come out. So I put a pan under there. I got some coolant on the ground, but I'm going to wipe it up. So you're just a little bit of a spill there. So now with this out of the way, we should be able to lift up the bottom of the radiator, push it out, and then we can drain it controllably into a jug. So I've got that valve draining, and as you can see, I've got coolant coming out, pouring into here, and we are good to go. We'll wait until these are completely empty, or at least the system is empty enough to where I can work on it and pull the water pump, because in order to gain enough clearance to pull the engine, we have to pull the water pump, power steering pump, alternator, and your AC compressor. So that's going to take a while to drain, and you want to make sure you keep an eye on it, because you definitely don't want to overfill one of your jugs. So now I'm actually going to start on disconnecting things like wiring harness. I'm disconnecting coil packs, fuel injectors, throttle body sensor, as well as anything else related to the wiring harness. You'll see it, there's some wires that go down here to the AC compressor, etc., coolant temp sensor, things like that. So you basically just want to disconnect any wires that you see that attach the engine to the chassis. So now next we have to pull the belt while the coolant system is draining. I'm able to do this. I have a breaker bar with, it's a 1/2 inch breaker bar with a 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter. The longer the breaker bar, the easier this makes this. Rotate it clockwise and you'll be able to pop the belt right off, no problem. So we've got that off already. Pop it off the tensioner and then release it out. There we go, belt is out. Okay, so this is, if you're not familiar, this is the clip for the coil pack. There's a yellow side on here and a red side here. This is basically just a safety clip. It's so that it can't just pop off. You push the yellow side and then you're able to pull it right out. Pretty simple. Same thing on the injectors. You'll see that there's another red safety clip. What I really like to do is just grab a flathead screwdriver, pull up on that, you'll hear it click out. Don't pull too hard, you'll break it, and then you'll just be able to push the clip in and pull it out. Okay, so I've got the wiring harness completely put to the side, and you've got your you got vacuum right here. We'll put that off to the side as well. And map sensor in the back. You want to take note, I could not pull my brake booster vacuum. You have a brake booster vacuum line that goes to the bottom of the intake manifold. I couldn't pull it off, so I will be leery when I pull the 8mm bolts off for the intake manifold, that I can't just pull the intake manifold off because I have that hose there. I'll have to disconnect that before I'm able to pull it directly out. So one thing I did do is I popped this fuel line off. It's as simple as, you know, needle nose pliers. I used a screwdriver. It's that simple to get off. You don't need a specialty tool to do it. But just make sure, like right here, I have paper towels zip tied onto the fuel line so that if it does drip off, it's very minor and it's contained. So 8mm bolts all the way around the intake manifold, and we're ready to pull it off. So I've got it pulled back far enough to where I could remove that vacuum line. Now we're ready to lift it out. Okay guys, so I have the intake manifold off, as you can see, and I've got a bunch of oil where these gaskets are. I know that oil flows through these, but I've got quite a bit of oil on here. Of course, that, you know, this isn't from this gasket, right? So what I'm saying is we've got excessive oil getting back through the intake, and it's soaking in front of these gaskets, so it's not leaking out. But it's that just shows how much oil was blowing by. So I'm willing to bet that it's going to come back to piston rings not coming back to being properly installed, and or they just didn't seat correctly, I guess, is kind of where I'm going at. But I did file fit them for the bore, so I guess we'll see how that goes. Let's go ahead and look inside each one of these ports and see how they look. So next thing I'm going to go around and do, I already started, was removing coil packs. And from there, we will remove things such as power steering pump, because that stuff is the stuff that can stay back and behind, and it's completely separate from the engine itself. Just a few bolts there. We'll pull the water pump, alternator, and the AC compressor, and then we'll get ready to start either doing the cowl or another step. So in the midst of complete darkness last night, I pulled the coolant plugs. There are one on each side of the engine block. I can show you, and I pulled the engine out. But I pulled the plugs so I could drain all the coolant out of the engine block. You want to make sure you do that before you pull cylinder heads, if you decide to do that route. I'm going to try to pull the whole engine out without removing cylinder heads. But if you do decide to pull cylinder heads, what you really want to do is drain that coolant out of the block, because that takes any coolant that's sitting in the head. Of course, you're going to have some residual. It'll eliminate you from dumping a whole bunch of coolant all over the side of the block and onto your driveway. So that's why it's a great idea to drain the coolant plugs. Next thing's next. I have to remove the cowl. I have to remove this bar that goes all the way across, just a few 13mm bolts and a lot of clips. And the windshield wipers, we'll remove those, and that gives us about 6 inches of clearance in order to actually pull the engine out. Okay guys, so we have the power steering pump here. What I'm going to do is run a zip tie from this hose to this hose so it holds it nice and tight and out of the way. So the AC compressor is 4 15mm bolts. I only have 3 on mine, but you're supposed to have 4. It'll be 1 here, 1 on the back side, 2 underneath. So there's really not much you can do once you have it removed. I just like to set it on these power steering cooler lines. Just pull it forward a little bit so it's up out of the way. And there is a thermal bypass valve down there. I won't even get into what that does. But now that this is out of the way, we'll move over to the other side. The alternator is, again, 3 15mm bolts. You also have electrical connections on the rear, so make sure you know where those are. All right, guys, you have a multitude of 13mm bolts all the way around. The very first thing that I would recommend doing is pulling your coolant pipe. So we have a 10mm bolt here, and you also have a coolant pipe back here that you just pull off. There is a bracket back there that holds it in place. You'll take that off, and your grounds are also there. So you'll pull those off, and then you'll be able to pull this pipe straight out. So we've got an 8mm bolt right here for the transmission dipstick. Make sure to grab a rag and stuff it in here so nothing gets in your transmission. Okay, everybody, so I have all the bolts out for the water pump, and I'm going to try to pry it off. You're going to get some water out if you did not drain your coolant. Got the water pump out. It's sitting out. So the bottom radiator hose is still attached to the water pump. You can do that before. I find it a little bit easier and a little bit more access to get my hand all the way around it by doing it after I pull the water pump. So on either side of the engine block, right underneath the exhaust manifold, you'll have 2 sensors with a 13mm bolt. They look like basically just a ring terminal that bolts to the block. Those are actually your knock sensors. Remove those on either side, and then we're good to start opening up the access plate for the flex plate, so we can remove the flex plate bolts that bolt to the torque converter. So this is what your access panel looks like right here. 1 10mm bolt, remove that, and that gives us access. So I just wanted to correct myself. It's actually a 21mm, but as you can see, I can spin it over slowly, and we'll go over until we can see those bolts. So as you can see, we've got bolts access right there. You can either use impact or have a friend or you kind of pin the breaker bar up against the frame. What I like to do is take my ratchet and just hit it with either a hammer or really hard with my hand, and it seems to break them free. The torque spec isn't too crazy. It is a 13mm socket. But if you have one person like me, you're gonna have to go to the front of the engine and make sure you gotta make sure that your car is in neutral, by the way. Otherwise, you won't be able to turn the engine over because you're going to be trying to turn the transmission over as well. So you're going to take your 22mm, put it on breaker bar, and then you rotate the engine over until you see the bolts. So I just wanted to correct myself. It's actually a 21mm, but as you can see, I can spin it over slowly, and we'll go over until we can see those bolts. As you may be able to hear my air compressor in the background, next is exhaust manifolds. As you can see, I have an aftermarket pipe here. This is because of a cat delete, so it may be quite a bit harder for me to pull my engine due to this. You would just be able to pull your catalytic converter from here and here, drop it out, and then you'd be able to just pull it out. For me, I'm going to have to lift my engine forward and up at the same time. Either way, this is what you do. 15mm on an impact and or just using a hand tool, no big deal. And then 18mm for your motor mounts here and here. If you're going to be underneath the car, I would recommend grabbing some safety glasses. Obviously, I can't stop you from not doing that, but safety glasses, because rust where I'm at, it's pretty bad. So I'm going to throw some safety glasses on with an impact, buzz these off. They'll come off no problem. I really like using impact on these just because sometimes the studs will seize to the nuts and the studs will come out with the nut, which is not really ideal. Now you've got bell housing bolts. That is basically the bolts that hold the engine to the transmission. They're all the way around the mating surface, basically. You will have to remove your starter. I did that already last night. It's just, basically, they're just bell housing bolts that go all the way around. It's no big deal, guys. Anywhere between 15 and 17 millimeter. I do have a couple aftermarket, so I don't know exactly what yours would be, but majority of mine are 15, so I'd assume that would be on yours too. So all the way around, and we're ready to break this bad boy apart. So last time I did this, I had the transmission basically wanting to fall as I'm pulling the engine out. So what I did this time is put a block of wood under or on top of the jack, put a little bit of pressure against the transmission. So now when I try to pull the engine, the transmission won't move. So I'm not working with the trans as well as the engine, which helps a lot. Now I'm going to do the top bell housing bolts across the top that I can reach. I'm going to have to probably stand on the engine block to do so. So you definitely want to make sure that your ports are all covered up, especially if you're not tearing your heads apart like I plan on not doing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll be ready to hook up the engine hoist. All right, guys, so for the final step, I'm going to go ahead and take the hood off. You can do that right away if you're in a garage or something, but I wanted to make sure my hood was on for as long as possible just in case it rained or something. So I'm going to go ahead and take the hood off and set it on top of the car. It's fairly light, it's aluminum, so I will be able to do it alone. If it were a heavier hood, you definitely want to have somebody here. So here's the setup I have. I've got a head bolt, an old used head bolt on this side. Back here in this corner, I actually just tapped that hole M8 by 1.25, as well as back there. I could have just used the EGR bolt right here, or the bolt hole right here, but I want to stay away from that, almost like a treehouse, the peak right here. So that's why I decided to go with this hole and that hole. Let's go ahead and time lapse, get it done. So once I got it up high enough to where I could remove this motor mount, just two 15 millimeter bolts came right out, and without a lot of major chafing. I did have a little bit of rubbing right here that I wasn't liking, but it didn't damage anything, so that's okay. Wire harness wasn't pinched too bad, but it did come really, really close, so be ready for that. Yeah, so now next thing we're going to do, pull off the flywheel so that, or technically it's the flex plate. So we'll remove the flex plate and install the motor onto the engine stand. All right, guys, I got it out. Actually wasn't too bad. I was able to do it with the cylinder heads. I have not done that before. But once I got it up high enough to where I could remove the motor mount on the driver's side, it actually went out pretty smoothly. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and remove the flex plate, throw it on the engine stand, and get to work. I hope you guys like that kind of content to where I break down how I do things step by step. Of course, it's not for everybody. That's why I'm kind of making this a two-video thing, how to pull a Hemi, and then I'll make another video of, if it's not dropped already, of, you know, kind of a vlog style. I like doing both of those where it's a DIY as well as kind of showing how my life is, you know. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video again, and stay tuned for the next one. I will be doing the same kind of video for installing a Hemi with, you know, fully dressed, of course. So stay tuned, guys. We've got it on the engine stand, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.